Next, I'm off to speak to Wesley Mendy, who's an old friend of mine and has a new business called Savile Row Masks. Wesley Mendy, how are you?
Really well, thanks. You?
Thanks for coming on Posh Cockney TV. We speak nearly every day anyway, off camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolute pleasure.
And business is going well for you?
Yeah, it's been eventful.
Yeah.
Like everybody else, when I think we had the conversation at the outset of the lockdown, it was just an absolute, it was the ultimate horror movie.
Yeah.
To see everything going from riding the plateau, to then just hitting the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But as we all said, you need to adjust. And like we did, we adjusted, got used to the cold water, and then started to make a route to the shore and boom. Things have found themselves out. Yeah. And it's been a great period of finding new abilities, finding new skills.
So some people wouldn't know who you are. I mean, I don't know who that is, but some people might not. So Prestige Events Magazine.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I started it 18 years ago. It was I was basically employed to manage the launch for the same company that I had launched Women's Health Magazine back in 1998. And then I undertook the launch. Several months later, I purchased the magazine myself off them. I got to that itchy age where you want to go ahead and do your own thing in my early 30s. And I decided that, I would go that way. I would make that big, bold path. And obviously that led on then consequently to events like the Cool Venue Awards, the open entry contest.
Which I love, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, and we've got to do that party again soon. It hasn't taken place this year, so we're naturally... I'm missing it.
Yeah,
it's a big void because it's the one night where I can really, truly let go. And I then obviously subsequently created for the readers and the advertisers the opportunity to get together at our 2020 club events and Speed Network. And we've produced just under 150 events now to date, which are sold out months in advance. So it's been good, but obviously that has all been shut down since... March. Our last event was on March the 13th. So new chapters have been inserted into the book. It wasn't as planned, but they're great. They're really, 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 really great chapters, I think. That are going to emerge with their own storylines.
Let's talk about the events industry as a whole.
Okay.
What do you think will happen? Because you just touched on it. Lots of people have lost their jobs. Venues are shutting down. It is scary, but people like yourself are so positive all the time.
I watched an interview that you did the other day, and the gentleman was stating that we're now going to see a rollback to events people working harder, being a little bit more creative, a little bit more, how can I put it, sparky, as in the sense of they can do this, they can do that, nothing is too hard. And it's back to the old days of hospitality. Back in the days, we were, always trying to go to the nth degree. It got a bit lazy. We still delivered high, but it got a little bit lazy in terms of its creativity. I think that what we're going to see now, I think that you're going to see a hell of a lot more startups. The difficult thing is obviously finding the funding and the backing to be able to do the startups, because a lot of people don't necessarily come with that background or that pedigree, and our bank's prepared to lend to them. Do they have maybe the equity that they can use as security? So there's tremendous difficulties initially that some might think, oh God, and I think you're going to therefore see a lot of people tragically leave the industry. But I think you'll get the smart ones who will say, right, if I can't do this on my own, then through the power of networking, I will take my skill set and I will merge it together with others, maybe a couple of others, and you'll see a lot more smaller, bespoke organisations set up, particularly on the services side, on the agency side. And I think that'll be something that we'll see emerge as a pattern. It emerged after 2008, after the crash, the economic crash then, and I think that is something that will emerge even more emphatically now. I think that people are now getting used to working from home. So as a consequence of working from home, they now don't feel that they have to have an office to present a front.
Yeah.
Because it's the new way of working. So that's one fixed cost that's eliminated completely, which is a massive stranglehold on many, many businesses. Doesn't matter whether you're a new business, a small startup, or whether you're your big, FTSE 100 organisations, all of whom, did you see the Evening Standard report the other day saying that, half of them are looking at reducing their floor space.
Yeah, for sure.
So that whole front about having to have the office necessarily is not, the big all important one now. So I think you'll get a lot more people that will show that design towards moving in that direction.
Do you think budgets will be cut massively though for events? Do you think that will just be seen, because events are normally a treat for, especially internal events for companies, they're a treat for the staff for, having a great year, hitting their bonuses, etc. If they're working from home, you sort of lose that team mentality. So they might, lots of companies might scale right back on the event side. Do you think that will affect, I mean, it's going to affect the industry for sure. Or it might go the other way where they go, we don't have these office costs. We now have this extra money that we can go, right, let's have a huge summer event. Let's have big team building occasions. Hopefully it goes that way for all of us, because we both have a dog in the fight in the events industry. So let's hope it goes that way.
I think if we take it back, sometimes we look at things on a macro level. I think if we take it back to the older, I like to call it, I don't even remember, back in the day there was a program on television called Bread, Ma Boswell, and they used to sit around the table. It was based on a Liverpool family, Liverpudlian family, and every episode used to start with them all sitting down at the kitchen table at the end of the week, and they all used to put their money into the pot. And Ma would look at them and say, like, what have you brought this week? Point I make there is that when you look at what we've gone through economically, you ask the question, will budgets be cut back? I think, yes, budgets will be cut back because the men in grey suits will look to reclaim whatever they can, as they always do, in order to stem the losses that maybe they've made. I think they still spend on their events, and I think they'll still do emphatic events. There are going to be elements which they need to introduce, naturally, because of the practices that we need to have. But I think essentially, I think they're just going to be a little bit more choosy, a little bit more specific on the sort of events which they host. And I think that those events that they do host, I think they'll be, even more, spectacular, as in the sense that whether it's a hospitality event and they're looking to, add the WAS on it, or if it's even indeed a conference, they look to put a little bit of sharpness on it, so it comes across. Because there are going to be certain people that they won't necessarily, they're going to be very cagey about, they have to be practicing numbers, distancing, etc., etc. So there will be, I think, in place an ideology which is that, okay, we can't, and we've got an audience that is virtual but still partaking, then we need to make sure that we still involve those guys, even if they're watching virtually, and also the people that are there in the event, because it's maybe a little bit more sparser than it would have been, then we need to inject more soul or more atmosphere. So there'll be more emphasis on, I think, things like design, styling, event styling.
The whole experience, basically.
Totally, absolutely. Yeah.
Wesley, let's talk about what you're doing right now. I mean, you called me up and said, Liam, I've got something for you. We're working on something really special. I said, what's that? And it's these lights. We're going to get some close-ups on camera, but tell me about how this came about. I mean, it's obvious how it came about, but what's the creative genius behind it?
Okay, nutshell of it was, you may recall, I spoke to you at the beginning of the year. We were talking about what we're going to do this year, as we do, just cutting the rug on the phone. And we went, right, okay. I said, I'm going on holiday to Koh Samui. And in a nutshell, we were all then seeing and hearing these stories from the Far East. It was this virus. It's like going to smash everybody. So, and everything. Anyhow, long and short of it was that, like most people, you start to worry. I got my FFP2 masks, did the ultimate road test, 18 hours on flying time wearing one of those with the, the valves, etc., etc. It was horrific wearing it, but it's a road test. It wasn't designed to be a road test at the time because I didn't know what would transpire. Came back from holiday because I have underlying conditions I needed to protect myself. So I came back, and then a few weeks after coming back from holiday, the event industry shuts down. Then say to the guys in the team, look, we've got to humble ourselves. We've got to look at a route forward. We will get the government funding, which we did, thankfully. We did get the grants as well, which was great. But I said that money cannot go to waste. It can't be a situation where we take 4, 5, 6 months off on a holiday, because that's effectively what we would have been doing, just sitting there. And I said that's going to be a waste of our resources. We've got to start paying that back in 12 months. I don't want the weight keeping us down, because we've got to start paying that back over a 5-year period. Let's now humble ourselves, come up with some ideas. Let's go away for a week and then come up with some ideas. So Dan said, yep. And the other guys were like, okay, all right. I came back 2 days later, not 7 days later, because the brain is itching. And I said, face masks. Dan said, yeah. For those who don't know, Dan is Dan Bear Park. He's my partner. And he went, what about, we'll do, like the medical grade ones, the PPEs. And I said, yeah. And he said, I don't really feel too comfortable about it either ways, but let's do the research. The market is so fraught with stress points because you've got to get it from China over through Belgium into England, and it was too stressful. I said, that's not really that I'm inclined either, because it's NHS that really should be getting that stock. My wife is a nurse. Yeah. Long and short of it, came to the point where I said, let's create something that is distinguished and distinctive and separated from the overcrowded marketplace that is at the bottom end. And we created Savile Row Masks. We're putting together Savile Row educated tailors, some of them semi-retired, about to go off on their pensions, and then suddenly found them decimated by the drop, in the market. And we have a bunch of Savile Row educated tailors that are producing real comfortable, fitting, tailored, handcrafted, key essentially washable, reusable, therefore sustainable face masks that are affordable to everybody, and something that makes their style still look on and remain on point, rather than looking like they're walking into Holby City. Which is a massive letdown if you've gone and spent maybe 600, 700, 800, maybe £2,000 or whatever on an outfit, or it's a special occasion, a wedding or whatever, an important meeting. It's something which we felt needed to be addressed, and it's going great so far. Really, really well.
Let's talk about the press as well you've had. So just last month you was in GQ. That's phenomenal.
I mean, GQ. So we purposely avoided doing any press, because one of the great problems that people have, and this is where you have to humble yourself and do your education. It's like going back to school. For years, I've worked in events, publishing. Now I was about to go into retail, and I haven't worked in retail since I was 17, 18. Where I worked in Dickens and Jones, that used to just be up the road, in a department store. And I was right. Okay, what do I know about retail? I don't really know much about retail, except that I use all the online sites, etc., etc. I do like my gear. So I did the education. We humbled ourselves to it. We spoke to as many people as we knew who work in retail, online retail. We pulled together a team of website developers, online retail product development experts, and we used that money that the government gave us to invest in those areas. So we said to ourselves, what we mustn't do, and this is the big trick, is you can't put the cart before the horse, is the old cliche. And too many people, they rush into something without realising the route and the strategy. So you can put all that energy and it can just go, only so far, and then it dissipates and it explodes. We didn't want a Vistaprint scenario either, where they tried to capitalize on something by offering branded masks, and then suddenly they realized that their suppliers couldn't fulfill the orders, and then they had a spectacular Hoover-like explosion, upon their brand, and all of those years of work had gone, like egg on their face. So what we did was, to put it very, very simply, we said, let's get the products right first. Let's put all the systems in place. Let's invest in all the systems. So the web light, the back areas, the shopping cart areas, so snip cart, stripe, etc., etc. Make sure that all of the functionality of those is working. Let's test it in the immediate realm of our friends and family. And then let's push out a little bit further to associates and followers, etc. And let's stress the systems, and let's test this and stress the systems on that little micro universe before we start going out big. Because otherwise you could be creating a noose for yourself, a noose which nobody wants. So that enabled us to find out one or two things about ourselves.
And you seem to be doing very well at it, and I'm sure sales are only going to go up, because it seems like there's going to be no stop in people wearing masks for sure. Yeah,
GQ, what they did, they came in, they said, I had a contact there, and she gave me the inside track on obviously where their editorial position was in terms of masks and what they were looking for. They reviewed over 84 they reviewed 84 masks, and what we had was just a very, very simple position, which was, we knew the quality of the product, we knew what audience we were designing them for, and in a nutshell, when we then presented it to them, their statement about them being the most comfortable that that you'll ever have, grace your face, ever guaranteed, there was, not ours, was like, wow. But it's been an exciting new chapter inserted into our book that we could never have foreseen 12 months ago. If you told me 12 months ago, you'll be doing face masks, I think I would have just cussed you out. But 12 months ago, face masks were things for surgeons, and and yet now they're obviously being readapted for the crowd who are a little bit style intensive, which is a lovely thing to be delivering, and also for those people that are cost conscious as well but still want to look half decent. So,
well, Wesley, it's been a pleasure speaking to you as always. I wish you all the best with Prestige Events Magazine and Savile Row Masks, and thanks very much. Good
absolute pleasure. And London after lockdown, hell of a program, mate.
So thanks for watching Posh Cockney TV. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please subscribe below and hit the bell to be notified on future shows.